When you receive your pallet, it's going to look like this under the wrapping. Be careful not to cut the pads when you're cutting it off. We'll go through the assembly procedure on how to put this together. It's color coded and it's also number punched. It does flat pack, but we've decided to save you some time assembling by putting it 3/4 of the way together. When you receive it, like I said, be careful not to cut the pads so you work from the other side. Here's how hard it is. Shrink wrap. We have put pins in where they go so you get less to figure out. Careful to cut this out without cutting the back handles. Just to show you, this is the pad end, and we put the pad pins in the front here. Okay, these are the pad pins. That's what we put back in a second. But just so you know where they go. And always put them from the inside going out. You can lift this pad up now, turn it. The highest position probably. And come with these pins from the inside out. As you can see in the backing plate, there's a narrow side and a thick side. We've got it in the medium setting, which means that we have a narrow one and a wide one. That gives us some width for adjustment. Again, this is the pin from the inside. Okay, make sure these pins are in at the bottom and clamped on. And that's the front pads. You have clips here that we are already in, but if you want to store it or dismantle it, these all come out without tools. So there's the main half, the pivot end of it. Now we have the collision end of it. This pad is just sitting in here trying to save space. Okay, on the back of this pad is 4 bolts, 9/16, 14 millimeter, and they go through these holes. There's 2 settings. You might want to play with high or low, but we'll go low. Okay, so the big end goes on the bottom. It lines up. We're going to go in the lower setting here. Give these a good crank with a wrench. 14 or 9/16. I'll give you this wrench so you don't have to find one. Okay, so this is the incline pad. This is the protector so it doesn't cut the pad, comes off. With the incline pad bolted on, we've got to take out the main pivot pins. So we can connect the pivot part to the collision part. Okay, so these things stick out a little bit, so there'll be a little bit of wiggling. We'll probably take this pin out to give us some space. Widen it a bit so this fits through. look down here. This sits in between nice and tight. Put these back in. It's not the right pin. Look at these. I can't see. I'm blind. Okay. So now with these together, if you're going to use this as a pivot trainer, you can change the height of the pivot. So we'll start medium. And if they can move it easily without this popping up, then you lower this pivot point. If you want it to pivot, you only use 2 pins at the same height. So, number 3 on that side, number 3 on this side. Okay, so this is the link that controls how much the pivot pops up. There's 2 links here. We've got it on a longer setting right now. You could undo it and put it here to reduce how much it pops, but this should probably be fine for everyone. You just crank that together. So now that that's linked, when people push, it'll pop up telling them they're doing the wrong technique. So you can shorten that down a little bit if it's too much, down to there. So that's with the pivot at this point. If they can move it every time without it popping, you lower it 2 inches and it makes it difficult. Make sure you lower both sides. Okay, and if you're going to be using it as a collision trainer, or you're just going to be moving it, or you don't want it to pop up at all, you put in the 2nd pin, which basically locks this from pivoting at all. Okay, so we have color coding here. It's got blue on one side. You can see the blue up top here and the blue here, the red, and the red down here. We've got, on the front, we have black if it gets sort of separated, and we've got cream on this side. So each pole is unique and has to go back to the way this is. If you ever take it apart, that is. If you don't, right now, because we're going to put the last handles on, we're looking for the one that has corresponding color, blue. So we got blue to blue. Move the pins. Slide into the lower hole, the upper hole. Let it lift up a little bit to get it in there. And then find the hole that goes through. Make sure you clip the spring part over top. Okay, the red gripper handle for the collision pad. Your drop pins in. And this is ready to go. You can adjust the height of the pads if you find that, but normally the highest setting is fine. And remember that you can change the difficulty with that. So now with that locked, we have a rigid sled, and we have these for rocket.